How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Everyone's having a lovely day. Bengals Steelers gonna be a big game here. Playoff implications on the line in a big way for the Bengals. Steelers look like they're in the driver's seat and potentially could be seeing the Bengals week 18 with, their starters benched. Locking it down, playing some good football. Lost to Cleveland, gonna be 8-3. Might have been better for the Bengals to see them win that game, 9-2. Bengals are going to be vying for that last playoff spot. They know they can't afford to lose this football game. They lose it, they're out of it. And for that reason, we're going to see Playoff Joe and company out here going up against a tough Pittsburgh Steelers defense. A Pittsburgh Steelers offense, by the way, has been figuring out as well. Last week, slowed down a little bit, stalled a little bit. How much of that was the snow? How much wasn't it the snow? The snow games are always interesting just because... Yeah, it really was until it started dumping snow where both offenses started to move the football down the field. And that's because when you think about it, it is a messy game, but it wasn't messy like 0 degrees, can't throw the football messy. It was just a heavy snow. Where really you could say, hey, offense kind of has the advantage because they know what they're doing. The defense has to react where it makes it easier for them to slip and fall and so forth. May have been a beneficiary there, may not have been. That being said, entering the bye week and exiting the bye week, we should say, for the Bengals, some good news for the Bengals faithful here. The Bengals are 3-1 exiting the bye week under Joe Burrow. And it's really been the tale of two seasons before and after the Bengals bye week. They've entered the bye week 5-4, 5-4, and most recently 3-3. If we remember, 5-4, Bengals went on to win 7 straight football games the last time they came out of a bye week. Same situation, really. Same area of the season, we should say, not exactly the same situation, where they really needed to win out. They needed to win 7 games. And they would do that, beating Pittsburgh, winning the next 6, and ultimately making a playoff run into the AFC Championship game that season. This season, 4-7, they got to win 7. And they got to start here against Pittsburgh once again. Last time they did have 1 win before the Panthers. This time, Pittsburgh going to be game 2. They got to win this one. They came out of the bye week last season, 3-3. What's happening? Oh, it's going to get ugly, right? 3-3, you got to play at San Francisco versus Buffalo. Beat them both. 5-3 Bengals. They come out of the bye week, again, playing tough teams. Know they got to win. Almost like it's a chance to just forget what happened, chance to reset, figure things out, and move forward. And I tell you what, I don't know if we're going to reset the same way they have in the past. This feels like it could be a fiery Bengals-Steelers football game. We ain't seen that in a while. We haven't really seen, and I tell you what, I love me some good, I love me a feisty Bengals-Steelers football game. Boy, were they so fun to watch back in the day. And you ain't really seen that out of Zach Taylor's bunch as much as we did as Marvin Lewis's bunch. I can't say the same about Mike Tomlin because I just, George Pickens. It's the wide receiver special at this point over in Pittsburgh. They're dominant and, well, a distraction. Nonetheless, ever since Russell Wilson's kind of come under helm up until Cleveland, and things do tighten up in the division up until Cleveland, Baltimore, it kind of felt like that, right? Going to that Baltimore game, it's like, oh, people were saying it's going to be high scoring. It's like that. These Pittsburgh-Baltimore games finish in the teens dang near every freaking game for the past 2 seasons. That wasn't going to change. So you don't go back and say, well, was it a sloppy? Because that's like, no, it's just that's AFC North football at its finest, Pittsburgh and Baltimore there. But up until then, Russell's moving his football up and down the field, throwing it around. Even now, he has the 17th most 30-plus yard passes this season. And mind you, he's played a fraction of games everybody else has played. He's on pace right now. At that pace, he would lead the league in deep passes of 30-plus yards. And that, for me, as a Bengals fan, as a Bengals defense, you are concerned about that bigly because this secondary has the holes. It gives up the big plays. And you already know you're going to be worried about George Pickens, great player, emerging more and more. The more he's got somebody that can actually throw him the football, he just seems to be coming together even more. And now you're going to worry about, get ready for this name if you aren't familiar with it yet, Bengals fans, slowly emerging, it seems like, Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin has been a guy they've liked to utilize a little bit more down the field. Kind of that surprise threat, kind of that guy you're not keeping your eyes on fully. Again, you're worried about George Pickens. Maybe you're worried about Freiermuth. Even now, Darnell Washington getting involved over there in Pittsburgh, starting to figure it out. Bengals fans, again, will recognize that name. Huge Darnell Washington fans entering the draft that season. A lot of Bengals fans wanted to see this man in Cincinnati. And what's the worst thing can happen? Probably what Baltimore was thinking with Patrick Queen, right? It was the division rival. That's how it goes. And he's been playing some solid football over there in Pittsburgh. That being said, I'm worried about the Bengals pass defense once again. We know just historically the Steelers do pretty well with the tight end game in Cincinnati. Now you're adding the weapons out wide. The secondary injuries for the Bengals, they just keep piling up. And now you wonder, again, DJ Turner did play some good football when he benched Cam Taylor-Britt. Now Cam Taylor-Britt's going to have to play due to, again, the unfortunate injuries in the secondary. I would assume he's going to play. And how will that match up? It feels like it could be a long football game in that regard. I look for the Bengals defense, though, to make some key takeaways in this game, create some turnovers, whether it be on the ground, whether it be making Russell Wilson stand back there and hold on to the football just a little bit too long, something we've seen him do from time to time, and potentially create a turnover. The Bengals defense needs ever so much in this football game to create a couple takeaways, and the Bengals offense needs to capitalize. The Bengals offense, who this is an interesting football game. It's an interesting football team in Cincinnati in general. When you look and say, hey, they have the best pass rush statistically. We're not even gonna say that because he might not even be the best pass rusher on the field. I knew he was on the other side, but statistically, the best pass rusher in the league right now leads the league in sacks. Trey Hendrickson. You get the quarterback entering Sunday. This video will be out before the Sunday games are over. Teams probably won't be able to buy, might pass him up. Right now, entering Sunday, Joe Burrow leads the league in passing yards. Joe Burrow leads the league in passing touchdowns. Joe Burrow leads the league in adjusted QBR on the season. Joe Burrow, by all counts, if the Bengals are 7-4, if the Bengals are 8-3, is the MVP favorite right now. He has been playing his best football. He has been phenomenal. Jamar Chase leads the league in receiving yards. Jamar Chase, spotlight on him. Your new contract year. Was he going to stand out? Was we going to see him start to stand out when it mattered most? Last week, I think, was more of a big moment than the Baltimore ones. I mean, he had half his receiving yards against Baltimore. It was against that kind of secondary. I wanted to see him come into a game against a good football team, a good defense, and make some impactful plays. He did that last week against the Chargers. It feels like that Joe Burrow-Jamar Chase connection is in full effect, full throttle right now, an unstoppable connection. Frankly, what's important to me is what's happening in these trenches. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Alex Highsmith, heck of a football player, makes some impactful plays, and more importantly, what you want, and this is what the Bengals know they're lacking, is they do not have a complementary piece to Trey Hendrickson, guys that can win on their one-on-ones. It's Trey Hendrickson. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they work so well with Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward, dude's 35. He's still going to get 8 sacks. I can't believe how old he is. He just continues to be an impactful player. But the difference is they have these guys that can win their one-on-one matchups, get some sacks, get to the quarterback. And when Alex Highsmith is on the football field, it is a different Pittsburgh Steelers defense. They're averaging 14.3 points per game this season, and they are 6-0 when he's on the football field. When he's not, they are 2-3, and they're averaging a little over 17 points per game. Big difference, big impactful player. Guys like that can make a difference. Speaking of guys in the trenches, Orlando Brown Jr. for the Bengals was playing dang near at again, his highest level of his career. We've seen the Bengals' best players play at their best this season amidst a 4-7 season. We'll get to why that is here in a little bit, but amidst that, their good players have been playing like they're good players. The Bengals went up against 4 top 10 pass rushes in the league his last 4 games for Orlando Brown Jr. He allowed 2 pressures. He's only allowed 8 quarterback pressures all season. That compared to his replacement these past 3 games while he's been injured, Cody Ford, who has allowed 18 pressures in 3 games. He's allowed an 11% pressure rate on dropbacks compared to Orlando Brown Jr. sitting in a 2.5% range. A huge difference. A huge impact in keeping Joe Burrow upright, keeping him healthy, especially the backside, ever so important. I seen it last week. Steele was talking about, hey, they got to find a way to get pressure on a quarterback, because if they don't pressure the quarterback like they were struggling against Jameis Winston last week, Joe Burrow is going to have himself a day. And if Orlando Brown Jr. is healthy, I think we see this offensive line upgrade and play so much better. They've been cautious with Orlando Brown Jr. I don't think there's any more cautiousness left. They could have probably stretched it if they wanted to last week. They didn't. Now your season's on the line. There's no question about it. Probably should have chanced it last. Maybe not, though, because if he gets hurt. Now you have to chance it, because if you go 4-8, the season's over. If Orlando Brown Jr. plays, this is going to change this offense bigly. But the big question for me, it's going to come down to ultimately, is we know that this Bengals team is going to find a way to stay in a football game. Meanwhile, we know the Steelers defense is going to find a way to keep its team in a football game. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and this is what we talked about, why the Bengals are 4-7. The Bengals are 4-7 because they have lacked the ability to execute in the fourth quarter. It's not Joe Burrow's fault only. It's not Jamar Chase's fault. It's not Trey. It's not any particular player. It's not Cam Taylor-Britt's fault. It's not Evan McPherson's fault. It's not a particular player. It has been a team effort in finding ways to lose football games this season. We have touched on this multiple times. The good teams find ways to close the door late. The bad teams find ways to lose the game late. You have the missed field goals. You have the fumbles. You have missed field goals. The fumble. What the heck? Oh, the drop pick 6 last week. Bengals had chances to close out so many games this season. You put the football in your star player. MVP season he's having. And this is why you don't give an MVP to a 4-7 quarterback. Because let's be blunt, Bengals fan biased. First one to say it, sure, a little bit. But Joe Burrow had the football in his hands in multiple occasions to close the door. Call it the play call, blame it on a coach, do what you will. Didn't close the door. So there was chances for this offense to close the door. And they have to do that this week. And that is the scariest thing about this team. This is why nobody wants to see the Bengals in the playoffs, because that's it. The Bengals are 2-3 plays away from being 7-4 and beating the Chiefs, beating the Ravens twice. And then all of a sudden you're talking about it being the scariest team in the league, but they lose those football games. And their defense still has the holes. Their offense still has not executed. They find themselves with their back against the wall, getting flexed out of Sunday night or Thursday night football games. I think ultimately, though, this is a Bengals team when they have to have it, and they absolutely have to have it. I cannot bet against Joe Burrow. Season on the line. Have to have it football game. Bengals 24 on a Evan McPherson. Dame Sealer. Steelers 23. Love the y'all's thoughts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.